Yeah, necessity is the mother of invention. And when I moved here, you know, I moved from a pretty rustic location, and so this kind of feels natural to me. But I didn't have the means to sort of flatten it and start over. So so you can still see the bones of the hay barn and the stable. You know, it looks a little bit nicer today, but you can still see the bones. Our wine club is called the Underground Wine Club because of our origin. So my father was in the very beginning of high tech. It was in the beginning of the laser industry. He graduated college and found a job selling lasers, and it was when they had been invented. And so he said they had a solution, they just needed a problem. So he went around the world selling lasers. And he would mostly go to universities and show what a straight beam of light looked like to the physics department, and all the other professors would show up for the presentation because nobody'd seen a straight beam of light. I mean, it's ubiquitous today, but in the '60s, early '60s, nobody'd seen it.
Science fiction.
Exactly. During those travels, when he in the Rheingau in Germany. Would have a day off, and he would walk down through the Rheingau tasting wine, and he'd go visiting wineries, and he would see these little family-run operations with 10, 12 barrels underneath the house. And when he thought, okay, I'm kind of done with high tech, I want to do something home-based so that I can see my kids growing up and have more time for backpacking, because that's what he loved, he thought, I want to give that a try. So what he did was, we had the house that I grew up at is on Page Mill Road in Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills actually. And he rented a little Bobcat tractor, took the OSHA cage off, dug a ramp off the driveway, knocked a hole in the foundation, and took him 28 days, my oldest brother and he, and they dug it all out.
28 days?
Yeah.
They must have been moving.
They had no idea what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were jacking it up with a car jack, and until my mom said, you guys, you're going to kill yourselves. Go get a house jack or something, And so they dug it all out, and then they cemented it, put drains in, and he started making wine in '76. I thought that we were expanding the swimming pool, and I was super thrilled until I found out we weren't going to put, fill the hole with water. We were going to fill it with wine, which of course I wasn't interested in. I was 8 years old. So,
Well, that would have been a big letdown.
Totally, because the pool would have gone underneath the house.
Oh,
I mean, I had this,
yeah.
I was like, this is going to be the coolest pool ever.
A mini Hearst Castle going.
Yeah, right. So I grew up in it, and my dad, he didn't have really any experience. In fact, in 1975, he made 15 gallons of Chenin Blanc, which was completely undrinkable. My uncle called it Urina Blanca.
Oh.
And with that winemaking experience under his belt, he dug a hole in the house, started making wine. I've asked him recently, were you just overly enthusiastic, or were you, were you ambitious, or what was it? And he says, people were doing it. I figured, I could figure it out. I was pretty smart, so. And sure enough, some of those early wines are still fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, he's meticulous and thoughtful, not in a negative way. He's not overly, he's not OCD or anything like that. But he's very thoughtful, and he put a lot of time and effort into it. And some of those early vintages are still great. As kids, we all worked in the winery. We helped bottling and harvest and such, and it'll surprise you to know that I went away to college preferring beer to wine. So ever since I could remember, I wanted to learn French. And I discovered the study abroad French program my sophomore year. And I figured that the best way to get into it was change my major to French. And I did that, and I applied to the program, got in, and my dad said that summer, he said, okay, you're going to France. This is where, wine is king. I'm not going to send you over there completely ignorant, right? So that summer, we did a bunch of blind tasting, and he tried to teach me and bring me up to speed. And I went over there still preferring beer, but really fell in love with the culture, the business, the art, and the science, that is wine. And I really discovered my parents' winery from afar. I fell in love with it in France, and I came back and I said, hey, I want to take a semester off and and work and see what it's like, and I did, and then the rest is history. Right after I got out of college, I joined him full time. So he didn't really have much experience. In fact, my uncle had a lot more experience in the French wines and the, the appellations and things like that. And so actually, when I at the end of that junior year, my mom and dad came over and we traveled around the wine country in France.
Fun.
And my French was exquisite at the time, and so people they thought I was French, but these were my parents, and they didn't understand,
Yeah.
And we had just a wonderful. I think we traveled around for 3 weeks visiting wineries, and
What
man,
a great
it was
experience.
it was spectacular. So my first professional harvest was '89, and my parents retired in '96. So I was there at the house, and they actually moved up to the Sierra foothills. So I was running the winery there from '96 until '04. And in the early 2000s, my wife and I were thinking of starting a family, and started to investigate whether we could end up owning that property. And as can be the case, I still have 3 siblings, and so I couldn't afford to inherit it. That was the majority of their estate. So we needed to move. In addition, I was bursting at the seams. Literally, the barrels were pyramid stacked, and there were like 6x6s on the floor, and I marked the bottom 6x6 because I had to line the barrel up, because the 4th layer would crest in between the floor joists, and if I got it off by 6 inches, it wouldn't fit in. It wouldn't go in.
That would be very disappointing.
Yeah, right. Because then you got to unstack it, right?
Okay.
So we were literally bursting at the seams. So it was clear we couldn't rebuild there. I couldn't end up with it. We wanted to start our family and our new life together in wherever we were going to end up. So we looked all over. We looked all over Santa Cruz Mountains, Healdsburg. We looked a little bit in Paso Robles, Sierra foothills, and Livermore. And Livermore provided us. At the time, I wasn't making any Livermore Valley wines. We were buying grapes from Napa, Santa Barbara, Paso Robles, Santa Cruz Mountains, bringing them back to the winery. So the business model was really totally portable. And what drew us to Livermore was not the grapes, but rather that the community decided in the late '90s to hold back the tide of construction by saying we thoughtfully want to promote the wine business. We want it to be an agricultural town. We want to preserve the beauty and the openness, and we could see that in their dedication to the wine community. In fact, they had pre-zoned for some wineries, so they really the impetus was there to support the industry. And so I moved here really for the affordability, to be able to expand and have a dedicated tasting room. What just surprised the heck out of me was the quality. I mean, for the first 3 years, I was bringing the grapes from all those distant locations back and doing the wine here. And then I started dabbling in the local fruit, and I made Sauvignon Blanc, and just had this epiphany. The fruit was local. I could see the vineyard. I could participate in the growing of the grapes. It was less expensive than the Paso Robles fruit I was buying. The quality was every bit as good. At least for the wines that I was making, it was better. And I could have coffee with my wife in the morning and show up, and the grapes would be on the crush pad, rather than leaving here at 4 a.m. To be down there. And so I had this. And all of a sudden, it opened my mind to the Livermore Valley. I just didn't conceive of it as being a really high-quality wine growing region. And today, we're 95% local Livermore Valley fruit because of that. The website is www.pagemillwinery.com.